Welcome to the final
The final.
episode of our Spider-Man reviews for the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. We are 15 minutes late tonight because I had to go ahead and watch it later than I planned. So that is my bad. But I did just finish it. There is a second season, so we will be reviewing that too. And if you're watching this on Thursday, you're probably watching the Supercut. So hello, Supercut. At this point, for you guys, you're going to be jumping all the way back to week one. You can jump all the way, come forward. If you're here live, though, you're going to hear about our thoughts of the kind of overall season anyway. So welcome to the live show. Now, go for the synopsis of episode number...
I don't have them pulled up. You didn't tell me to pull them up.
I figured you'd pull them up because I was...
You know what, George? You're right.
I've got a lot of stuff on my side I've got to control. Justin's not in the studio with me tonight. He's feeling sick, but that's okay.
All right, episode 9, Hero or Menace. Spoiler recap. Opens with Otto Octavius locked up, courtesy of the Sokovia Accords. Norman Osborn visits him in jail and takes great delight in gloating over Oscorp's many successes, and he's taking credit over Otto being locked up. Norman reveals that he made a deal with General Ross to acquire his former employees' inventions, so everything that Otto invented and created while he was by himself has now been subsidized into Oscorp. The furious scientist hits back with some harsh words of his own and vows to take revenge. Big Donovan sets out to steal Otto's text from the cops transporting it. Nico and Pearl are hanging out around there. They're almost caught up in the attack. Fortunately, Spider-Man is in the classic red and blue. And George, let me tell you, I had the goofiest smile on my face when we saw that costume. Because not only is it a classic costume, it is the classic costume besides the lenses. The lenses go with the more MCU design, which I prefer. So I'm happy with it.
No, it looks good.
It looks so good. Let's see. Fight breaks out between the 1/10s and the Scorpions. And Big Donovan eventually gets wrapped by Mac Gargan and is about to get killed. So he just runs away and leaves the rest of the 1/10.
Yeah.
During this time, Lonnie gets into the truck transporting everything and is looking around for stuff and knocks over a canister full of gas that he is briefly knocked out by. He eventually comes back out of the truck, waking up, and I believe he gets stabbed by the Scorpion, but nothing happens. The tail just breaks, showing off his tombstone, super strength, and invulnerability. Which, when this initially happened, I was a little disappointed, but we'll get back to that.
Yes. Finish the synopsis, and then we can talk about the show.
Let's see. Victory was short-lived when Mac fights back, seemingly kills Lonnie by burying him under some rubble, and Norman's words start echoing in Spider-Man's head, and he no longer holds back and savagely beats the villain down until Lonnie reemerges and stops him from delivering a killing blow. Very, very, very similarly to Tobey Maguire in No Way Home. Almost exactly the same, composition and everything.
Yes.
After that, he webs them up to the ground, and then the Scorpions just kind of scatter, and the 1/10 leave with Lonnie. Later on, it ends with the episode revealing Norman's true colors when he meets with Oscorp scientists, and we learn that they're using Peter's blood to experiment on other animals, like we had talked about last week.
Yes. Yeah. So going back to the top of this episode, I love the conversation sequence of him and Dr. Octavius talking. it does such a good job of setting him up in that villainous dialogue. Like you can hear the goblin in the traces of his voice during that whole time, talking and gloating about his strength and such. This fight sequence between Scorpion, Lonnie, and Spider-Man, hands down my favorite fight sequence of the.
Oh my God, George! I was, I'm sitting back here watching, and the animation got smoother, and I went, "Hold up, hold up,
No,
hold up!"
This episode has the best animation of the whole season.
Oh my God!
And
I was locked in, bro.
The fight sequence is so well done. I like that for Tombstone, we are getting to see that it looks like they are to go ahead and keep him more in that protector bad guy role. That he is still a villain, but he's not evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because again, Tombstone, there are some Tombstones that are just, I like to kill, and that's the route I go. But this one is very much, no, you're Spider-Man, don't kill. And it's such a feel-good moment of that scene. We also get in this episode Peter and what's her name? Goth girl.
Nico,
mending their friendship.
Oh yeah,
it's a good little half scene that it needed to happen, but it's a good scene.
And they promise to each other no more secrets, but then she looks down at her necklace and she goes, "Right, no more secrets." Which, like, if you know the comics, you know what's happening. If you know who Nico is as a character, you know what's happening. If you don't, it's really good.
See, and I'm not sure who Nico is.
She's from the Runaways.
Yeah,
so you wouldn't know.
That's why I was very confused with what was going on, and we'll get more into that next episode because there's a big deal in that in the next episode. But like they dropped the hint of the glider, how we kind of talked about, looked more like I said, it looked more drone, but they do confirm it was the glider. So there's the Goblin's glider.
Yep.
When they're talking about working on Spider-Man's blood, we find that they are trying to build the same serum that Spider-Man has in order to change him. But that's really what happens in this episode. This episode's mostly a fight.
Oh yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
Yep, especially coming off of episode 8 being an exclusively Peter Parker episode. It makes sense that this episode is mostly a Spider-Man episode. So,
that being said, your score
5.
Okay. I'm glad we agree.
Yeah.
This episode, like I already threw my scores on because I didn't want to be impacted by your decisions. Yeah. This episode is a solid 5. This is another really good episode. And that's impressive for me to have 2 5s back to back. Like you're running on a high of the last 3 episodes being a 5 for you. But okay. Synopsis for 10, go for it.
So we open on Rockford Bales High. Basically Peter, it's following up on the Peter and Pearl presentation that they had earlier in the season. Let me skip over some. Over at Oscorp,
the fact that his name is Peter, not PD, because they got an A- in their project.
Yes. Yes, she calls him Peter, not PD. First time whole season. And then he goes off to his. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I still think it's weird that, and I know this is kind of review part. I still think it's weird that our love interest, because she's going to become our Mary Jane of this universe, that it's his old babysitter. That's still odd to me.
Yeah.
That's still a weird dynamic.
I also think she's original, but I could be wrong about that. I'll look it up in just a second after this synopsis. He then goes to the internship where where Norman reveals that all of their mini projects that all of the interns were working on was actually part of a bigger project. Does he give it a name? He names it.
I don't think he does.
He does name it. It's Project Monolith.
Oh, that's
I think.
yeah.
I think. Basically, it's really cool. Scientifically, it's really cool because basically it's in simpleton terms, it's a portal. It's like a space gateway, but it's basically a housing hole for an Einstein-Rosengate bridge.
Yep.
Which is
That's
really
exactly what it
cool.
was.
Which is really cool, right? Norman is very arrogant about it all, and he's pushing to start it. Everybody's pushing against him to not, and eventually he convinces his lead scientist to start it, and they open into a quiet quadrant, which is what they say. Actually, no. Before they boot it up, Doctor Strange appears, and he goes, "You need to stop now. You don't know what you're messing with."
Yep.
And Peter's yelling at him like, "You were at Midtown." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. That's crazy, bro." Right? And then as soon as that happened, I knew what was going on. I'll get into it. They open the gate. It goes to a quiet quadrant in space, and then the symbiote jumps out from episode 1. And you go, "What?" It looks like Venom, but it's not Venom because Venom hasn't been here yet. It's crazy, right? Basically, they fight in the Rosengate room. Spider-Man shows up. They go thwip, thwip, thwip. Doctor Strange goes, "Ah," and then they fight. Eventually, through combat, the power generator gets damaged, so the gate shuts down, and Strange goes one-on-one with the symbiote so that to buy Peter time to repair the generator. And during that time, he is using the Eye of Agamotto to hold back the symbiote and also creating a sling hole. And during that time, he loses focus for just a second, and the symbiote hits him, mixing the two spells together, creating a time hole, which is the same time hole from the first episode.
Yes.
Also, during all the fighting, Peter gets sent flying through a wall into the animals division, which is where we get our spider from episode 1. So basically, it's really confusing. Don't think about it too much. But the spider that bites Spider-Man was engineered with Spider-Man's blood.
Yes.
Don't think about it too much, because I did, and it doesn't make me happy. But that's just me.
We'll talk about it. Keep moving.
We'll talk about it. Anyways, Strange pulls the symbiote back up. Peter repairs the generator. They close it in, and they shut off the generator just in time before the big symbiote comes back. But there's a little sliver that makes it through. And then we get our big 10-minute post-creds.
Yeah. Legitimately, the rest of this episode is just quick little clean wrap up. Somebody went ahead and said the Imagineering came up with Web, the Worldwide Engineering Brigade, and said, "We're going to throw it in the show because why not?"
I'm okay with that.
We'll see. We'll see what they do with it.
Yeah. Is it connected to it? No, because it's connected to the MCU, but it's not in the MCU. So it's just a name at this point.
But basically, we'll see what they do with it.
Harry is convinced by Peter to create Web so that the interns have a space to work, that their work isn't going to be used for nefarious means.
Yes.
And then Asha and Amadeus accept while they're creating it. Sorry, I messed up. So Harry's creating it, and he has a list of candidates, and there's a big whiteboard behind him with a bunch of names written down. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, because I didn't get a chance to stop and actually look at the scene.
Immediately, the ones that jumped out to me was Ned Leeds which is Hobgoblin, and Ned Leeds from the MCU.
Yes.
And Max Dillon, who is Electro. Those are the two that immediately jumped out to me.
I think it's still too soon for it to be on the internet, though.
I wouldn't say so, because I already saw some articles earlier about it. I'm just trying to pull it up.
Yeah, I'm looking also. Here it is. Reddit posted it. All right, so you got Peter Parker, Amadeus Cho.
Amadeus Cho, which he's in the first season.
Let me go. Let's do this. Let's open image in a new tab, and then.
Okay, I have a full list. So Peter Parker.
I have the picture. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Oh, okay. Oh, are you gonna put the picture up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just have to change my screens a little bit, real fast, right here, and boop. So Peter Parker, Amadeus Cho, Asha, Scott Forbes.
Scott Forbes is either a reference to a random special agent who showed up in one issue of Inhumans, or to Marvel artist W. Scott Forbes, who currently works on the visual department for Marvel Studios.
Max Dillon.
Electro.
Jean Falcout.
She's one of the interns. She's the one that is Finesse.
Okay. Lee Ann Dufour.
An art designer and director who has worked on various Disney productions.
Ty Miranda.
First introduced in the series Unstoppable Wasp, which also included Finesse. Tyann Miranda is a wheelchair-bound engineering genius.
Then we got Emmy Choi.
It's possible this may be a reference to Emmy Choi, who is a prop designer in character animation, or Emma Choi, who worked as a translator on X-Men 97.
Priya
Agarwal?
Yeah.
Also introduced in Unstoppable Wasp, Priya is another member of Girl, the tech collective that Nadia, the second Wasp, sets up. She's a botanist who later gains plant-controlling powers.
Okay. Benjamin Anders.
A character designer, art director, and illustrator who also worked on Adventure Time and Craig of the Creek.
Oh. Tony Sandoval.
While TBC, I don't know what that means. This seems to be a combination of Tony Ho, the daughter of Iron Man character Ho Yinsen, and Gerardo Sandolva, the co-creator of Tony Ho.
Okay. Ned Leeds.
Ned Leeds, Hobgoblin, and you know him from the MCU.
Yes. Tiberius Stone.
A scientist in the Marvel Comics, Tiberius is most associated with the Oscorp rival Alchemax and is heavily tied with Spider Slayers, robots that try to, kill Spider-Man.
Adam Rodney.
Only thing I'm coming up with this one is a personal trainer in the LA area or YouTube star who may be the same as the personal trainer. This is somebody's list put together.
Yeah. Kaiden Nixon.
A mutant with the power of time acceleration. She was first introduced in 2003's Nyx.
Interesting. Ripley Ryan.
Best known as the anti-hero Star, Ryan is the current bearer of the Reality Stone and is able to make both subtle and large changes to reality as a result. She often clashes with Captain Marvel and doesn't have a science background in the comics, so a surprising introduction to the list.
And Diane Jenkins.
Jenkins is an Empire State University student who pretends to be Spider-Woman in a video game, drawing the attention of the real Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew.
Okay.
All right. Going back to the synopsis. on. After web, and the page just reloaded. Well, this is actually technically before that. Peter meets up with Strange on the rooftop near Midtown. And Strange says he regrets messing with the timeline, but Spider reassures him that everything that's meant to happen will happen. So essentially, what he's saying is that he was going to become Spider-Man no matter what, even if it wasn't with Strange's time manipulation, which is true given the web of life and destiny. And then Asha and Amadeus both accept the web offer, as does Jean. But Jean is then shown to be Finesse all along. She's the one who had Daredevil break into Oscorp, who helped him break into Oscorp. Lonnie now has white splotches on his hand that weren't there before. This is turning him into the Tombstone design that we know. And then he's also shown to be leading the 1/10, and he drives off, leaving his Letterman in the trash can.
Yeah.
Norman sneaks back into the lab where the Project Monolith lab, and he finds a small remnant of the symbiote. Nico is shown using her necklace to magically convene with her biological mother's ghost. In prison, Otto Octavius sketches out plans for a mechanical tentacle harness in his cell, while Aunt May goes to visit a mysterious prisoner who turns out to be Richard Parker, who simply asks, "How's my son's doing?" And then we cut back to Spidey taking a final celebratory victory swing as the season ends. Typical of Spider-Man projects. What are you looking up?
I was just the Spider-Man's father. You said Richard Parker.
Yes.
I was just trying to double check because I don't remember in any run of Peter's parents still being alive. It's always that May, if something happens before the comics, and May and Ben take over.
There's a few.
And what?
There's a few that Richard survives. They were even adapting it in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but all the scenes were cut.
Well, so as this put it, in the original comics, no, there is no run of it. When at the time that the Amazing Spider-Man films were coming out, there was a new run that started to save Richard. But as you put it, the scenes were cut from the Amazing Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's a new story plot that I'm really curious what is going to come of it. It's why I had to look that one up. But no, a lot happened. So going back to the top of this episode, there's not a lot that happens in this episode, but there is a lot that happens in this episode.
It's a lot more closure for the season than being a season finale, if that makes sense.
You say you pieced together of what was going to happen with Strange. I did not.
Okay.
I did not piece that together. I came in. I was excited to see Strange here. To me, Strange being confused of who's Peter Parker and such is wouldn't surprise me because again, he only saw him for a second. On top of that, part of me was thinking, okay, this could be a different universe Strange than what we see at the beginning of the show. Because again, Strange is one that can jump the universes during combat. And so I was like, oh, hey, whatever. I was totally caught by surprise when he falls back into episode 1. And I was super stoked. Like, I was like, this is cool. This is such a cool concept. I did not, and I do not like the idea that Spider-Man made Spider-Man.
Yeah. Try not to think about it.
You can't help but think about it.
I know.
Like, originally, I was kind of confused with the backstory of the spider, but I was like, okay, again, he came from a different dimension or whatnot, so I was okay with us not knowing. I wish I didn't know where the spider came from at this point.
Yeah.
This kind of
Yeah.
it kind of hurt my feelings of the story overall. This was a loose end. I don't think we needed to tie up.
Not quite yet.
We could have
Like if it was originally like from a different universe, like we were saying, we could have tied it up later. Yeah, it would have been fine.
But like the idea of, oh well, they were working on the spider serum to make Spider-Man, and apparently they were successful, but we accidentally sent it to the past. And no, that story doesn't work with me.
Mm-hmm.
The spider design doesn't even look completely the same, though.
I don't know, man.
So I don't know, man. I was. I mean, we only get a quick second with it, but I don't know. This fight sequence though was not as enjoyable to me.
No.
This one didn't do it.
I like the end. I like the end when like Strange is holding the shield up and then like Spider-Man's pulling on everything. I really like that. Well, but like that's about it.
There are good moments of this fight sequence, but overall this fight sequence was just mid.
Yeah.
This felt like we were going back to like the like dash fight where Norman first started helping.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It really felt, especially when we just got done with the Tombstone and Spider-Man pair-up fight, which was so flawless. This one I was like,
Yeah, it makes me wonder if like this episode was made coinciding with the original pilots, like we had discussed.
I'm wondering, yeah, if they probably did the first few episodes, because again, you got to see the full sequence of that fight, and this was probably, I'm wondering if this was animated and designed at the same time as the first episode, just to show where the story was going, to help again get it greenlit, because it's such a cool concept, but like the introduction of the spider going back, that to me feels like it was a like last minute thought, because it doesn't this show is very well fleshed out. That doesn't feel fleshed out.
Everything about this show, every story beat about this show feels great except for this last episode. It feels middling. It's not bad. I won't say it's bad. It just feels middling comparatively to everything else. It feels bad, but overall I think it feels middling.
Correct. Yeah, I totally agree. I was super surprised. Like, I knew there was something going on with Nico, but I was super surprised to see her casting spells. Do you know about this character, or?
Yeah.
So give me her build up.
So,
because again, we don't know if this is the way they're going to go in season 2 of it.
Just the way. Typically, she uses a staff that is cursed, that any word she says can be any word that she intends to say as a spell can be turned into a spell, but once she says that word once, it might be phrase instead of word, I don't remember, but basically once she says it once, it's used up forever. She has to reword it to do it again, right? And we see that in the episode where they're driving and she says go faster and the necklace lights up.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, that's one of her spells, essentially.
Got it. I did like getting to see Octavius in front of the exoskeleton, at least the design of it. Though I don't understand the logistics of this prison, that they're not going to stop him from designing a super suit behind him. But
oh, no, man.
Again, this was a wrap-up episode. Your score for the episode?
I'm going to be lower than you.
You think so?
I know so, because remember what I said they were building to?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't build to it. They just used the same name.
What do you think they were building to?
So, if This Be My Destiny is a storyline from the 60s where Peter Parker is dating Betty Brant at the time, which she's in the MCU. She's the blonde girl from the school news that Ned dates in Far From Home.
Yeah.
And they're dating at the time, and Peter plans to tell her that he is Spider-Man. On the way to the date that he's going to tell her at, her brother gets kidnapped by Otto Octavius, and this is why I said they were building to it, because it is a Doc Ock story. And so Peter or Spider-Man goes and Betty goes. They both go to the docks where Doc Ock is holding him.
Yeah.
And during the fight, her brother is killed, and she blames Spider-Man for it, right?
I remember this story.
Eventually Doc Ock drops a bunch of rubble on top of him. It could be in a warehouse, I don't exactly remember. But they adapt this in Homecoming with the warehouse and the Vulture, where he's initially like tweaking out and like freaking out, as you would, as a regular human would, about how he's going to die in there. And then it's a huge moment of self
reflection
and encouragement, saying that he is Spider-Man and he can do anything he sets his mind to. And he lifts up the rubble and escapes out of it by himself. And it's a really big Spider-Man moment that cements a lot of his character. And I was really excited that they named the episode that, because I thought that's what they were going to be doing, but they didn't. So my initial like rating from last night, going into the episode expecting that and immediately coming out not having that, would have been a 2. I think I'm at a 3 for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Because honestly, on this episode,
are you at a 4?
I'm at a 4.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm disappointed, but that's my expectations because of the name.
So like what in like a concert, you go ahead and you build, and usually you have the one like let down to go ahead and start to calm the crowd down as you end it off, unless they go into like encores and such.
Yeah,
that's kind of what this episode ended up feeling like to me. Was like we realized we hit peak episode last episode, and this is just, let's go ahead and let's close up some of the storylines in case we don't get a second season, but we'll still set up enough so if we get one, we know where we're going.
Yeah.
But no, this episode was a 4 to me. So
episode, and like under your circumstances, I 100% see a 4.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know what story you're talking about and that makes sense to me why you would think that. If you had told me that thought last week,
and that this is another reason why I did it, is because I wanted you to be surprised by it. Yeah,
I would have shot you down. I would have told you that we're too early for that story beat.
I don't think so, because it happens relatively early within the grand scheme of Spider-Man. It's issue. Like
we don't have anyone set up 69. For it to be with yet. We're not at that point of this Spider-Man.
So it could be a season 2 thing, but they already used the name.
I think they're gonna use the storyline in season 2. It's not gonna be the same name, but I think that we'll see that in season 2, because we don't have the setup of a character for Peter to be getting that close to yet. Because Nico already knows. Nico's the only one I could see at this point besides May. But the episode where he would have revealed it to May, he didn't. So if you had told me last week that's where your mind was, I would have told you you're wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't even piece it together because I had no idea going into this episode what we were going to see. I didn't expect This Be My Destiny be about the origin story of this universe of Spider-Man being made from Spider-Man.
But like at the same time, just taking the words at face value and completely removing the story associated with the words, it makes sense because the core message of this episode is that no matter what, he was going to be Spider-Man.
Yes.
So like, it's about him accepting that and like wearing it on his sleeve.
Yeah.
And like thinking about it that way, I like it. It just irks me because of what that name means to Spider-Man fans.
No, and I get you. I get you. So episode 9 out of 10, you and I gave it a 10.
Yeah.
Episode 10 out of 10, we gave it a 7. With that
I'm okay with that.
With that in mind, where do you think out of 10 the whole season came in at?
I'd say we were at 8.2 last week, right?
So I'll go through and I'll give you the numbers. Episode 1 was a 7.5.
Okay.
Episode 2 was a 9.
Yep.
Episode 3 was an 8.
Okay.
Episode 4 was a 6. Episode 5 was a 6.5. Episode
7.
No, I got off somewhere. Hold on. Episode 1 is a 7.5. Episode 2 is a 9. Episode 3 is an 8. Episode 4 was a 6. Episode 5 was a 6.5. Episode 6 was an 8. Episode 7 was a 9.5. 8 and 9 were both 10s. Episode 10 is a 7.
8.5.
8.15. So pretty close.
Oh, okay. But yeah.
An 8 out of 10 for a new show.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
It has really high highs and pretty middling lows overall.
Yeah. I mean, even when we look at it on the out of 5s, our lowest out of 5 for each of us individually was a 3.
What's it at Rotten Tomatoes now?
What's it at Rotten Tomatoes now? Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't pull this up, and I should have. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So, it is a average tomato meter of 97%.
Wow.
The popcorn meter is 69%.
69 on popcorn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Top critics.
I wonder if how many of those are bombs or are reviews bombing.
Yeah, because all critics, there are 35 reviews at this point. It's an 8.2 out of 10. So again, right, you and I seem to be lining up like right in line with Rotten Tomatoes critic scores, which is actually kind of surprising. They had 34 fresh, 1 rotten review. Let me see. Reviews. I always forget how to pull up the actual reviews of people. Are you not going to let me see it? Why don't you let me see it? Do I have to go into the season? Go away. There we go. Okay, so when I go into the actual season 1 is a 97 on the tomato meter and a 69 on the popcorn meter. Would you go away?
It's weird that it got like a...
There.
What? Yeah, I think it's just getting bombed because I'm just seeing a bunch of like 4.5s and 5s instead of 3.5s. And then the occasional 1 or the half star. It's just like a single line of text for the bad reviews.
All audiences. Yeah, because I mean it's sitting pretty solid with most people.
It's such a boring series. The change in characters without the change in Peter is a very bad joke. Just garbage from the new era. Oh, never mind. I understand what that means. You're lame. This cartoon is a mess from start to finish. The animation is cheap and lifeless. The story makes no sense, and the humor is forced and childish. It's a complete waste of time. Don't bother watching it. I feel like you only watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, because hold on. I do want to talk about a couple of these if we're gonna look at them and read them.
Okay.
So like that one, I have to agree. If you're watching only the first 3 episodes, it does feel a little mess-like. It was good enough for us to continue. The animation does feel cheap, which was our biggest complaints of the first 5 episodes.
Yeah.
The humor, it's not a normal Spider-Man like joking type of this character. I will say that. Like I get where their reviews coming from. I mean that was back on February 9th. So obviously they didn't do anything. They didn't update it.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can change the when reviews are from?
Maybe on PC, but not on.
Well, no, they're in order.
Yeah, they're in order. Yeah.
So everything from today is I'm seeing a 4.5 is the lowest.
Yeah, from today.
Or there's a 3.5. So the 3.5 from today.
But the 3.5 is like actually being critical. Like he wrote a whole paragraph.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to go to. So I'll be honest. I was skeptical at first. Another Spider-Man show, but Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man won me over in no time. The animation, a perfect comic book come to life. The world, an incredible new universe I'd happily get lost in. The cameos and references, chef's kiss. You can feel the love for the source material in every frame. It's fun, fresh, and packed with excellent writing, reimagining classic characters in ways that just work. The world building is top tier, and now I'm just impatient for season 2. If you love Spidey, this is an absolute watch. See, that's a solid review.
That's a good review.
That's a good review.
And then you scroll down a bit to the first half star, and it's just somebody going awful.
Yeah.
And then you scroll down a little bit more, and it's a 1 star saying, "What is this? Can Disney just sell Marvel and Star Wars for that matter? They have no idea how to handle these franchises."
Yeah, and see, like that review, I don't get. So, like the one from the 17th by Brick F, 4.5. Unfortunately, a lot of review bombing on Rotten Tomatoes now. Great show. Give it a chance. The animation grows on you after a while, and I will agree with that.
I agree with that, because remember, like we were saying in that first week, it was like we brought it up in the first week that the animation did grow on us a little bit, and that was like my biggest concern going in was the animation. But like it grows on you, and like it does get smoother as the season progresses.
Yeah.
Leading to that pilot theory that we're going with.
But that being said, like I get where people are, because again, realistically, it wasn't until episode, I think 6 is where I said finally I was happy with the animation, because that's when it was clear the budget was turned up all of a sudden.
Yes,
at least from what it looks like. So good. A love letter to the character spanning his entire history.
I saw another review pretty low. Let me try to find it.
Okay, this was the 13th of 4. I really like this show. It's a cool take on Spidey's early days, and having it loosely based on the MCU was fun. There's a lot more to enjoy too, like Peter's friendship and cameos from other heroes and villains. One complaint is altering classic Spider-Man characters to fit the Disney inclusivity nonsense. It's just too much, so it's unnecessary. Other than that, the show is great and suitable for kids, teens, and adults. Okay, I kind of get what they're talking about there. But again, they gave it a 4 star. They said it's a great show. It doesn't. They have other opinions of what they think should have happened. Or the solid 4 star. They are cooking.
Let's see. I had one. Hold on.
Okay, this actually seems like a very honest 2-star review. Their statement was, and it's just a short one, it's very boring. This show has a pacing problem, which in the first 5 episodes I would agree with.
Yes.
So
I'd agree with the first 3, yeah.
Because that review was done the 12th. So that would have been up through last week. So maybe they watched it, maybe they didn't. I didn't like the series. The animation style was simply horrible. Didn't Marvel see the stereotype stealing is not cool for the? Yeah, well, again, the biggest complaint I'm seeing of the continuous pieces is more so just the animation bugged people.
Yeah, and like there is a lot of review bombing going on in here as well. So, what else? Have numbers updated for the first 3 episodes, or is that next week?
Let me look in just 1 second. This is a 1.5 star. This was from the 9th. Okay.
All right.
I always get concerned when I see a ridiculous high critics rating, but I got it a shot. I gave it a shot anyways. I got through the first episode, but that was all I could do. I'm not sure who the show is for, but the young ones with me were bored. The animation style reminded me of pre-90s comics, which was nice and different. The show, the story, and mainly the dialogue was so scripted. There was plenty of great Spider-Man shows out there. Pick one of those and watch it. As they put it, I mean that's kind of valid. The writing is a little tough in the first few episodes. Again, it's part of that whole theory.
You only watched the first episode, though.
They only watched the first episode. But again, if you're the same, being that they said that the little ones with them means that they're a parent. If their kids are bored in the first episode, you don't have time to give it a second chance.
Because I don't think it's made for young children, though.
Well, but this is just a honest review. I'm just trying to give you an honest opinion.
I mean, it isn't, though, because they're reviewing the entire season after only watching 1 episode.
They reviewed it back on the 9th, so they were reviewing at that time.
They were reviewing 5 episodes with only watching 1. Debuted on the 29th. Episode
You're right.
3, 4, and 5 released on the
6th. I thought it released on the first week of February. I was like, no.
They reviewed 5 episodes after only watching 1.
They reviewed when 5 episodes were out. You are correct there.
Yeah. And as we said, it gets better the more you watch it.
Yes. But I am still going to defend them if their family could not get through we're not interested after 1 episode. I understand where that parent would be coming from. Does not mean I necessarily agree with the review.
There you
go. But I will defend their statement where they're coming from because I get what they're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I need this guy. Come on over. Where are you going? So I know Nelson is what normally we could pull from, but I think it's too early for that because that's still January 13th to the 19th.
Yeah, so 2 more weeks on that one.
The numbers I don't think actually have a show set for shows.
Okay.
Let's see. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's trying. Yeah, it doesn't know what that means.
Okay.
So we'll have to come back to it.
On a pop culture jungle?
Yeah, because if that's going through the 19th...
It'll be in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So if you want to add to a reminder or whatnot, we'll go back and we'll talk about how this show did. I'm really curious. it is possible the show is going to absolutely bomb in the numbers. I don't think it's going to, though. I mean, at least our reviews are actually getting people watching. So, it means somebody actually cares about the show. Overall, I think this is a good show.
If you are a Spider-Man fan, and like one that isn't hypercritical about every adaptation of Spider-Man, where you hate everything that is in the comics because you're lame, watch the show.
I think I don't even think you have to go that far. I think if you're just even a more like casual Marvel fan, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
The criticism I was going to go into was if we're looking at shows that we have seen recently, like The Acolyte and such, it doesn't really step into the realm that those shows had problems with, which is a refreshing delight. This show was fun. The show is interesting. As much as I hate to put it this way, try to give it 6 episodes before you make a judging call on it, because the first 5 are rough.
Yeah,
they are rough.
I'd argue just the first 2.
Episode 5, you gave it a 3.5. I gave it a 3.
Okay.
Episode 4, we both gave it a 3.
Okay. I remember episode 2 being really, really good, though.
Episode 2, you gave it a 5. I gave it a 4 because I was being skeptical. 3? Episode 3, we both gave it a 4 because it slipped a little bit. I was still okay, but you weren't as hyped. Episode 4, we both said, that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll see where this goes.
Again, really high highs, really middling lows, which is a good thing. I argue. If your lows are just like middle of the road, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. I was hoping for closer to a 9.
Yeah, so was I.
Because an 8.15, it's good and it's solid, but I think for the overall fan bases, it's still kind of forgettable. Yeah, like it's good, but I don't know if that's going to bring enough traction for it to be a big deal. Again, this show looks like it's being done at a very costly budget, which is what's saving it right now, and that's what greenlit it for 2 more seasons. I'm hoping, being that the second half of the season we had a lot more of that better animation, except for episode 10, that's the way we're going forward with, is that better animation style and the better animation run.
Listen, man, if we have to suffer now so that we have better animation later, and like they could have gone back and polished it, but they're working on season 2 instead, I think I'd accept that.
Yeah. Because season 2 is probably next year.
I'd give it 2 years, because 87 was 2 years between the two as well.
Okay.
Same with What If.
Okay.
They work on a 2-year cycle, Marvel Animation.
Gotcha. But overall, 8.15, so pretty good. Any closing remarks about the movie? Well, not movie, but the show?
No, I think we discussed it all. I loved it.
It was solid.
As I expected I would. Even if you hated it.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I made it clear after the first week and the second week, I wasn't quite sure if how this was going to go, but I would finish and be an honest reviewer about it, and I'd give it its fair share. Hence why, again, the first episode was a 3.5 for me. The second episode and third episode were 4. I was riding a little bit of a high. I was like, okay, this might be good. Then I dropped the 2 3s.
Yeah.
So it redeemed itself in my eyes.
Yeah.
The show is much better in the second half than the first half. It is a fun watch. It is a good watch. It is a hard watch at the beginning. I'm not even sure of that. It is a hard watch at the beginning. The animation and the lip sync and such is rough. Like, if us knowing that this is being done by Marvel Animation, it doesn't feel like it's being done by Marvel Animation. This feels, the first like half of this season felt like it's being done by a brand new studio who's still getting their grips on it and learning it.
Yeah.
And in the second half, besides episode 10, feel like, oh, we've now had a couple years to actually practice, and now we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And again, that just goes back to my theory that the first half of the season was a pilot.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, ideally, next season, be much higher, and we will be back for that. But we're also going to be back in 2 weeks on Wednesdays for Daredevil, and that I'm hyped about. Justin is excited, but
I'm excited.
We switch sides on this next one. Like Spider-Man, I like, but Spider-Man's not one of my higher heroes. And Justin likes Daredevil, but that's not one of his higher heroes. We're switching seats. And I'm stoked. I'm excited. The Netflix series was fantastic. And the trailers we've seen, which we have reviewed here on the channel, make it look like it's going to be just as good. So be sure in 2 weeks to be back here at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Those episodes should be coming out on Tuesdays, so we should have no problem being on time to those as long as I get off work on time.
Yep.
And then be sure to always step in on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. for the Pop Culture Jungle, and every morning at 8 a.m. for a video. If you missed Pop Culture Jungle, a lot of them are being pulled from that. Tomorrow's video is going to be a supercut of the Spider-Man review. So if you watched all those, you've already seen it, but the watch hours would be nice. If you haven't watched all those, then go back and watch all those, because then you could hear us being critical the whole way through. And that's going to be like probably a 2.5 hour video or 3 hour
Maybe
video.
3.
This is the longest one.
This
we
is
spent
the longest
most
one.
time on this one, but that's because we're doing the final closing of it. No, most of them were like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but until then, we're going to make sure that Justin goes ahead and punches us out. It's been real. It's been fun, which means it's been real fun. That's an old outro, but we'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh, hold on. I have to hit 2.